Welcome to the Seatrade Maritime Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Howard, and for this episode, we are back with Liebherr to discuss cranes, and this time we're on board talking about ship cranes. I'm joined by Jan from Liebherr Maritime Cranes, and in a first for our series with Liebherr, we're joined by one of their customers. Sebastian from SAL Heavy-Lift, part of the Harren Group, is here to discuss his company's work with Liebherr on the new LS800E crane and its role in SAL's new Green Fleet initiative, the Orca project. Without further ado, let's get into the introductions.
Yeah, hi. My name is Sebastian Westphal. I'm a maritime history, so I worked on board heavy-lift ships most part of my life until 2015. I changed to the office in the management team of SAL Heavy-Lift, which was then taken over by Harren and partner, Harren Group, respectively, in 2017. And since then, responsible for ship management, engineering, operations.
Thanks for the invitation, Gary. My name is Jan Breckling. I'm a senior sales manager for Liebherr Maritime Cranes, specialized in heavy-lift ship cranes. And I've seen many new building projects in the last 15 years and accompanied some new product launches, such as the 800-ton crane for SAL.
Welcome both. So this is the, third or fourth podcast that I've recorded with Liebherr. The first time we've had a customer on with us, so it'll be really interesting to get both sides of the experience from you. We're talking today about the LS800E, and to break that down, I understand that LS is Liebherr's series of compact heavy lift cranes. 800 is sort of an indicator of capacity, and then the E stands for electric. I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong on that. Could you walk us through the journey from like the initial concept to the final product for this crane, and what were some of the sort of key challenges and milestones during development? I know there are other all-electric cranes in the Liebherr range. Did they help in the development? Was there experience from those projects that you could leverage for the LS800E?
Yes, we were very excited about that development of the LS800E with its 800 tons lifting capacity. That is an extension of our existing portfolio, which ended at 450 tons lifting capacity before. And the LS800E is also the first all-electric LS crane. LS, as you mentioned, stands for Liebherr Ship Crane. What does all-electric mean? That means all winches and slewing gears are directly driven by electric motors. Former models used electro-hydraulic drive systems instead. But what seems new here in this project and also in the range of ship cranes is in reality a well-known and proven technology in the Liebherr Group. Other divisions and even other maritime products like harbor cranes, they gathered a lot of experience with all-electric drive systems for many years. This kind of know-how has been used for the application of the LS800E too.
What was the reason then that the all-electric developed quicker for other crane segments than for the ship cranes? Is it a matter of size, or was there another reason?
The LS800E was developed with a all-electric drive system because our customer found out that it would be beneficial for his vessels to have here the all-electric drives, because combination with the power system of the vessel, it can generate some savings in fuel consumption and is more efficient. And for smaller size cranes, this is not so much the case as it is here.
Understood. And before we get on to speaking to one of those customers, the LS800E has a 800-ton capacity, as the name suggests, and a 39-meter outreach. Could you delve into some of the technical innovations behind that sort of enable these features?
Yeah, as you said, right, the LS800E can lift 800 tons at an outreach of 20 meters, and the maximum outreach is 39 meters, where it can still lift 400 tons. And this is what we would say a very good sufficient utilization of the overturning moment. And in addition, the crane features two auxiliary hoists with 60 tons and 10 tons. And due to the state-of-the-art calculation method and high-quality components, the total self-weight of the crane is below 400 tons, which is quite impressive and unrivaled.
And then I've seen in the pictures of the crane that there's this sort of 3 hooks set up. Can all 3 of those work simultaneously? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a so-called multi-hook feature in this crane, and that offers full control of all 3 hooks simultaneously without changing any mode. So the operator controls all hooks with separate little switches. We call them fingertips. And in addition, we put in some assist systems that helps the crane operator handling the crane safely and not to overburden him with the complexity of the possible motions.
Sure. And how do those assist systems work? How do they sort of play a role in enhancing safety for the operator?
Yeah, just to mention some, noteworthy is the synchronization of slewing and luffing motion, which keeps the hook on a steady line or axis during a load cycle. It simplifies the positioning and accelerates even routine work, such as shifting of tween decks, for example. There's also an automated level luffing mode, which can be activated, and that keeps the hook always at the same height while you're luffing the boom. And you don't have to adjust manually with the other joystick the height of the hook then. And for combined operations, also very helpful, you can turn on a tandem control, a tandem mode, which supports the operators. The hoisting speed of both cranes then can be synchronized, which keeps the load always in balance while hoisting.
Understood. Now, Sebastian, you've been sitting there very patiently whilst we've been talking. The first LS800E is destined for one of SAL Heavy-Lift's Orca class vessels, which I remember reading about when they were first launched. And I think there's going to be 2 cranes per ship. This agreement is part of a longer-term relationship between SAL's owner, Harren Group, and Liebherr. Could you tell me more about the sort of history between the two companies and how you came to, well, I guess, trust Liebherr with the cranes for your big new class of vessels?
Yeah, the relationship started long ago with the founder of the Harren Group and Liebherr, with some smaller cranes back in the 90s, and then in the 2000s, within the decade, first decade of the 2000s, we've actually had a quite big new building series in the Harren Group, comprising of 10 vessels, 10 heavy-lift vessels, state-of-the-art vessels at that time, all equipped with Liebherr heavy-lift cranes, so ranging from 250 tons capacity to 450 tons capacity, with a lot of new features at the time when they were developed and built. And at that time, development was like a joint, done in a joint approach as well. So a lot of features were thought about and developed together at that time already. Then over the last 10 years, with the kind of shipping crisis, which also affected heavy lift shipping, we were not having any new builds, but technology, of course, progressed a lot. And also our new ideas emerged, new challenges. We are facing new challenges with our cargoes and our clients. And therefore, it was kind of logical that we sat together with the Liebherr design team and developed the features and the particulars of the new cranes for our new vessels, to again making the Orca class with its cranes the front runner and most modern heavy lift vessels in the market once they enter the water.
Sure. Maybe just before we get into the development process, could you just give us a quick overview of the Orca class vessels and what's sort of behind their design and the kind of work they'll be doing?
Yeah, sure. It is super heavy lift vessels. We started their design like 2016 already. It was an evolving design, so it market changed, cargo dimensions changed, and so on. So we actually had several design stages, including an increase of crane capacities, especially offshore wind components got heavier and heavier, and those vessels are, they are not purposely built only for offshore wind components, but it is one of the main cargoes we are transporting. And therefore we adjusted the designs several times, making use of new features when also new technologies became available. And finally, in 2022, we were able to contract them with the yard. It's 5 vessels, whereof the first 2 are in a long-term commitment with Siemens Gamesa, exclusively transporting offshore wind components for their offshore wind farms they are supplying.
Great, thanks. And then, Jan, let's come back to you. I've spoken with your colleagues in the past on this very podcast about the role of customers in developing various products. Have you had that kind of exchange with Harren Group when it comes to developing these cranes?
Oh, yes, of course. And as Sebastian mentioned, that we had projects with the Harren Group 20 years ago already. We also sat together with the experts of our customer and defined certain features what could help and ease the operation of the cranes. And this time again, and for every new development as well, we will always sit together with our customers and figure out what is the new requirement and what would help to make that crane more efficient or let it perform better or help the operator. And this is essential to have a new product in the market, to sit together with those who know how the crane will be operated in the field.
And were there any sort of particular features that were developed through this collaboration?
As mentioned before, we have that synchronization of slewing and luffing of the boom. And that was developed also together with SAL, and the requirement came up, and we figured out how to solve it. And that was kind of the starting point of that feature.
And then Sebastian, how is that communication still important as part of the Orca project? I presume, I understand that new build projects are very complex. Things change quite a lot. Do you still need to be quite communicative with Liebherr?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, this is it is and was very important during the entire project so far, and it's continuing. So it's not like you order a car with a fixed defined specification and then you just wait until delivery. So that's for these new developments, that's completely different process. So at the time of the order, the main features are basically written down in the contract and they are firm and fixed. But a lot of things develop during the design process then, and then there's options coming up which you can pursue or not, and then you jointly have to take decisions which way to go. And so we had quite regular meetings with our design team and then Liebherr's design team to see which way we go, which options we take, what we develop, and this is still ongoing. Largely completed now as the hardware is built, but even now there is still fine-tuning during design, installation, and also even after delivery. There will be quite intensive communication necessary, and that makes also a difference. Then, if you have a trusted partner in a project, that the efforts don't stop once the product is delivered, but it then continues over the next decades when we operate the ships, and there is some upgrades or issues or whatever. Then, if you have a trusted partner which you can rely on, then this is very important.
And then I understand that at some point during this process, the safe working load was adjusted. Is that right? And sort of how did that process happen?
Initially, we planned for 600 tons SWL on 20 meters. And then it turned out that offshore wind nacelles went heavier and heavier. Within 5 years, gained about 300 tons of weight, I would say. And then we found it reasonable to adjust the crane SWL. But that, of course, comes with a lot of other factors. So the vessel had to get wider to accommodate the cranes and to take the crane moments. That was the main reason.
And Jan, was this something that Liebherr had picked up on during the process as well, this need for a change in the safe working load?
Oh, yes. I remember also that we started with 600 tons, and that was still an extension of our portfolio from 450 to 600. And then the project was known to us for a longer time, and we reconsidered also that a reasonable step, 600 tons. Or what are the cargoes looking like? And we sat together and found out that the crane must be much bigger, that it had to be 800 tons. I was a little bit surprised then, but we also managed to do that because this is, of course, a huge step coming from 450 tons. But it made sense. So we figured out from two sides that 600 tons is not enough.
I mean, that's much better than one of you thinking that it needs to go up to 800 and the other one thinking it needs to go down to 200. So it's good you're all on the same page. And this development has come from a specific application, but we often see in maritime technology that a product is developed for one customer or one use and then has a much wider effect on the industry. What sort of impact, we'll start with you, Jan, what sort of impact do you think the LS 800E is going to have on the maritime industry broadly?
Most crane requirements or lifting capacity will increase, same as the outreaches of cranes. If you look at older heavy lift vessels, they have mostly short booms. And now we see a trend that cranes are getting bigger in lifting capacity, but also in outreach. For the big cranes, at least, we see the trend to go for the all-electric drives and also add assist systems to it in order to reduce the complexity for the operator, to make it easier to handle heavy cargoes and make it safe.
And Sebastian, from your side as an operator, how do you think this crane is going to change things for you?
Well, the significant difference is, of course, in the energy consumption, and not only of the crane, but then also of the whole vessel in port operations and at sea. The crane plays a big part of that, and the assist systems will for sure, they aim to increase the turnaround times in ports. So, I mean, in general, you can say heavy lift is a slow-moving business. That will probably stay as it was and as it is. But as cargoes are more standardized in certain fields, for example, these offshore wind nacelles, they are of a certain type, and then you transport a lot of those, and there it starts to make sense to develop assist systems and techniques that are making the loading quicker and safer. And there I see a big benefit of the LS 800E with its features it has.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure that port turnaround times aren't quite as important as they are in, say, the container industry, but you don't want to be wasting time in the port, right?
Right.
And then just sort of carrying on this efficiency side of things, Jan, I understand there's sort of an intelligent power management system behind it all. Does that help with the efficiency of the crane and onboard operations?
The crane control, the electronic crane control, can communicate with the vessel. And so it's some kind of an intelligent exchange of information. So the crane gets information about the power which is available and can adjust the speeds of the hoisting, for example, or luffing motions, and therefore utilize what is available and not overburden the system. And therefore there's some interaction between crane and vessel, which was not like this before.
Yeah, if I may add, in the past, cranes were more as a standalone system, not really fully tied in or integrated in the vessel's energy management system, which is state of the art, like in the last generation of cranes and ships. But if we want to gain higher efficiencies, then we need to change this, and that was done now on the LS 800E. So it's fully tied in the vessel's energy management systems, and it gets the signal how much energy is available to the cranes, and then it's adjusting its speeds basically according to the available energy. Whereas it also feeds back its energy into the system, which is then stored in a battery on board the ship to make it reusable. Same as for an electric car, if you're stepping on the brake, energy goes back into the battery. And that's also what happens now. So nowadays we cannot consider the crane as a standalone system and machine on the ship anymore, but it needs to be fully tied in. And that's exactly also where the complexity of the whole system then lies.
Perfect. It's like having the Formula One KERS system on your crane, ready to bring that energy back into the vessel. Talking about development, let's take a look a bit further ahead, shall we? Jan, what sort of future innovations can we expect from Liebherr in the realm of maritime cranes? And can you perhaps give us some insights into the kind of research that's going on and the development efforts that you've got at Liebherr? Let's stay around sustainability and efficiency, shall we?
Yeah, when we look at the LS 800E and that category of lifting capacity, this was a step into that field of the super heavy lift cranes, and we see room for even bigger cranes here. So might be that there are heavy lift cranes with more than 1,000 ton lifting capacity in the future. So we are looking at that kind of developments. And also below that area of 800 tons, we see the need for a new 500 ton crane, which we're working on. And both crane sizes would be with all electric drives.
Okay, so really fleshing out that series of the LSE cranes.
Exactly, and we will follow that path and also add all those assist systems which we now developed to those new crane models.
I'm sure it won't be long until Sebastian's knocking on your door and ordering the 1,200-ton crane when the nacelles and everything keep getting bigger.
Right, or the 500 could be next as well.
Sebastian, let's come to you. We've already spoken about Orca and sustainability, but it seems like this is a broader focus for Harren Group. How are you kind of integrating these sustainable practices into your operations day to day?
Yeah, I mean, seeing the wider picture, it's not only a big topic for the Harren Group, but for the whole shipping community, I would say. Shipping has to decarbonize until 2050. So that's also how rules and regulations are being made up now. So there are several companies, or nobody can ignore it anymore, I would say. Everybody has to get more sustainable, especially in terms of carbon emissions. However, in Harren Group, we take responsibility and we want to develop quicker than governed by rules and regulations, and actually use chances where we have them. I mean, considering a lifespan of a vessel of about 25 years, 2050 is not that far away. So basically now we are already planning on building the ships which in future, at some point of time, have to be fully decarbonized. That's what we also are considering in our new building designs. So all of our new building concepts have an underlying concept for alternative fuels with dual fuel engines or fuel readiness stage. That's one point. And the other point is, of course, we have to save energy wherever we can. So we're doing that. The cranes are responsible for a big part of the power consumption, but we have other things as ballast pumps, and we are turning every stone basically to save energy where we can. For the new buildings, it's easy because there you have a nice playing field to implement a lot of new technologies and engineering solutions. For the existing fleet, however, it's a bit more difficult, but there also we are very active. So we are implementing new low friction anti-fouling systems to save fuel. We are checking for propeller and engine optimizations, and wherever this makes sense, we are implementing such technologies, which is not only our own aim, but also highly demanded from our clients. They also tend to choose transport options which have lower environmental footprint.
Sure, and wind-assisted propulsion is one of my kind of pet topics as a journalist. Is that something you've explored for any of your fleet, or is it not a technology that works for your kind of operating profile?
Well, maybe that's a design challenge for the Liebherr team then, because we are a bit... on a heavy lift ship, you basically the whole deck area is used for heavy and high cargo. So the only place where probably wind sails could make really good sense is on top of something high, which could be on top of cranes. So no, but yet in fact it's a bit difficult to implement on those heavy lift ships. It's easier on bulk carriers, tankers, and so on, where you have a flush deck which is not used for high cargos. So we don't have wind propulsion system in the fleet yet. Our alliance partner is currently rolling out doing a trial with those sails, and if the results are positive, we also we would also consider that. But we don't see highest potential for this specialized field of heavy lift shipping.
Sure, I'm sure you'll keep an eye on it though, just in case the opportunity comes up. And maybe we'll see those Liebherr cranes with a big a big foil on top of them or something.
Yeah.
So beyond sustainability and decarbonisation, the maritime industry is kind of facing numerous challenges, and I guess there are opportunities in there as well. There's the regulatory changes we've already touched on, technological advancements, which is basically what this entire episode has been about so far. What do you see as the kind of biggest hurdles and maybe the most promising opportunities for growth, innovation, development, let's say over the next 5 years or maybe longer if you like? Let's come to Jan first.
Yeah, I just want to pick up one thing Sebastian just mentioned, because he pointed out that on the path to decarbonization, the vessels have to implement new technologies and new features. And this is something, if you look at the old vessels, old cranes, and they were kind of not very innovative or low-tech area, and now we are facing the need for innovations, and this is possible in the maritime industry, we are sure, and Liebherr offers a good support, strong support with our organization for this, and we can help to implement that, and there's no fear that this is not able to handle. We have the backup of a global service network and remote service and all that implemented. So with the right partner, you can also go for innovations and follow that path.
And I guess for both of you and your companies, wind turbine sizes is quite a big factor on either the work that you do or the technology that you have to produce. How does that influence you both on a day-to-day basis?
We see a change in over the lifespan of the vessel. We simply expect that cargoes we will transport will change. I mean, you cannot expect that now you build the ships and in 25 years you are still transporting the same cargoes. Yeah, that's not what we are aiming for. The good thing for us as an vessel operator is that if a certain cargo develops too heavy, too big, or special solutions are in the end developed for such particular cargoes, other cargoes which are maybe not on our radar today are becoming available and in high demand for transport. So we don't see it as a big risk. It's more naturally given that components change, grow, or maybe in future are not even necessary to be shipped anymore because of technology development. So if you remain flexible, don't optimize a vessel for one cargo only. I think that's a good strategy for us, at least. On the other hand, you have to be that specific in your development and design that you are close to perfect when it comes to certain cargoes, which you see regularly, like offshore wind nacelles.
And Jan, anything to add on that point?
What I would like to add is that, of course, the future is uncertain regarding what comes up, what kind of requirements, what cargoes, and what political environment we have. But for us as a family-run company, we are not so short-term orientated. We look on a long perspective, and the family and the company invests up to €1 billion every year into the company to be prepared for everything which comes in the future. And therefore, we believe we can be a strong partner throughout the lifetime of a vessel and support the cranes, and then give that kind of certainty to our customers.
Yeah, and maybe just to add on what Jan said earlier, that new technologies or cranes nowadays are not low-tech, relatively well-proven and easy machinery, but it's if you want to have savings, you need to develop it more to a high-tech product, which is done here on the LS 800E. And that is still a little bit seen. Maybe some companies see it a bit problematic because shipping is more traditional and say conservative business. So many ship owners are, they don't want to be the first. Let it be proven technology first before you install it. But I mean, if you would follow that philosophy, then shipping will not meet its sustainability goals and will not develop fast enough. So a change must happen and is happening. It comes with new challenges, of course. And as Jan said there, it's good to have the right partner on the side when it comes to service and upgrades and such things. Because for sure, you don't want to feel left alone with a piece of high-tech equipment, which is really, as an operator, hard to maintain it on your own. And you basically, you need these partners on your side.
And then all the whilst those other operators are waiting to see if it works or not, you can be saving loads in your operating costs and reaping the benefits of the new technology, right?
Yeah, of course. There's risk and opportunities. I hope we take more chance of the opportunities than of the risks.
Let's just wrap up then. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've got a lot of information about the LS800E and its capabilities and some interesting notes on the development process there and how you've worked together. The Orca project, which sounds really interesting, and I look forward to seeing those vessels on the water in the future. And then broader challenges within the industry and how sustainability is driving innovation in crane sector, just as it is pretty much everywhere else across industry, right? It's what's driving the regulation, and the regulation is what's driving change. I'm going to come to you one at a time and just see if you have any final thoughts to round this thing off. Yeah, and what are your sort of closing thoughts on today's conversation?
Talking about the achievements of this project here, I must say it was a remarkable journey for us. And hearing what you just said, Sebastian, it makes us really proud and thankful working together through each phase, from the initial concept up to the final product. It's been inspiring and still feels like a privilege.
First of all, I'm really curious to see the cranes in operation. That's for me the big next milestone to achieve. And then I'm really curious, for new features and what comes next. I mean, we are at the moment it feels like there's nothing we left out, so could get a bit boring because we explored all the options and now we are there. But I'm sure there will be new opportunities, new developments in future, and there I'm really keen to see where we stand in like 10 years. And I really hope that we continue this path. It was now, technologies are developing quickly. Implementation and interfaces are now, I would say, the big challenge we are facing in our projects. And I think probably there will be a kind of a standardization within the next 10 years. So that systems of, completely different systems which somehow interact with each other are getting linked up as a standard, when maybe with more machine learning and AI content and so on. So that would really be interesting. Curious to take the same podcast again in 10 years.
Yeah, we'll have to put it in the diary. And I think maybe after these years of developing this ship alongside doing the normal work that you do at SAL, perhaps a little period of boring wouldn't be too bad for you, just to relax a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't object for a little bit more relaxation, but on the other hand, I mean, that's what keeps our all professional lives interesting. I mean, to develop new things, develop solutions, that what makes it interesting. So I think kind of a little bit of a company DNA as well with us. So be a little bit more than ordinary, I would say.
I like this vision. Let's open new chapters together.
Great, and we will definitely check back in on the Orca vessels and the cranes themselves once things are on the water and operating. So listeners, keep an eye on seatrade-maritime.com for some updates on that in the future. In the meantime, it's down to me to thank Jan and Sebastian for their time and for talking with me today. We'll have some links below in the show notes where you can find out more information on the LS800E and on SAL's Orca project. But yeah, thanks gents for your time today. It was great to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.